A very good morning. You're watching West Nile Television. That is the Kokoliriko show that comes every Monday up to Friday. My name is Federick Dramadri, and we'll be really discussing a lot of issues within this show. And from this hour up to really 9 a.m. we'll be able to really bring to you a lot of stories that are happening within the region, but also other issues that are happening elsewhere. And remember, we have a lot to unpack for you as the viewer, and we expect that you should be able to really pay attention to some of the issues that are coming, but also make sure that you give us feedback on whatever we are discussing here. It is very important to know where you're watching us from, and it is 8 minutes past 7 a.m. and I will be pushing this up to 10 minutes to 9 a.m. so that we are able to give time for those who are coming up with the news in Lugbarati to come in and also really give you that information in the local language. For those who missed the news in the Nilecast in the evening, you'll be able to catch up this with Fete Emmanuel at that hour of the time. And after that, you have a lot of programs that will be unveiling, or that will be really trickling in, and up to really evening, that will be having the Nilecast in the evening at around 7 a.m. And also, remember, after the Northern Request, you will have many other shows that will be coming in. You will have today being Thursday, you will have actually Wednesday, you will have many other shows that will be coming in. You have the Whistle Time, you have the Lemangia that comes at around midday. The Whistle Time comes from 2, and we have Chukchuku that also comes for those who are entertainment lovers at around 5. And that is some slight segment that will be really following up, and many others that will be popping in. And for those of you who have just come in to really watch this show, you should be aware that this is a television that has come here to really light up the region in terms of giving information, in terms of shaping development agenda. For those who are really lagging behind, you should be able to get expert knowledge from this kind of shows that we have here. Especially the early morning show is very important for you not to really miss, but also really to really wait to see what is happening across the country. But also many times we bring topical issues, especially for those who really want to understand based on the demands of the public, especially issues that affect community, issues that are to really shape development in these areas. And those are some of the issues that we'll be really discussing. And shortly we'll be joined by the Community Development Officer, who is also the acting senior probation, actually who is the senior probation and welfare officer of Warua District, discussing a lot of issues to do with gender-based violence, the plight of the persons with disability, and also many other issues that are popping in. And remember, across the country there are so many issues. Most importantly is the progress of the Uganda certificate of education, that is the UCE exams that are already being conducted countrywide. And remember, there are main stories coming around this, the issues of malpractice being featured throughout the week. Okay, so many cases have been reported, many people have been arrested, and then there are issues to do with two students dying during the course of exams, and also 2 really gave birth yesterday. And those are some of the stories that are around examinations, and those are some of the things that we'll be really discussing here. Remember, there was a masquerade in a National Water and Sewerage Corporation who was arrested and really taken, and this is a person who really was posing as one of the staff of National Water and Sewerage Corporation, but decided to go into the communities and started collecting money worth 800 Ugandan shillings. This is a case that has been followed, is actually being followed, and that is one of the issues that are happening across the country that we want to really bring to your attention. Remember, this is where you'll be able to get a lot of stories, a lot of issues that are happening elsewhere or within this region. We say good morning for those who have just joined us. This is the West Nile Kokoliriko show that we have on West Nile television, and those who are watching within Rua City, we say thank you. You should be able to really continue watching this television every Monday up to Sunday. 24 hours we are here to really energize and light up the region, and also unpack for you really what you need to know and market your products. For instance, those who are in the business sector, it is very, very important to showcase what you have and also really display it to those who are outside the country or within the country who want to really buy things from you. And you may never know there's someone who is looking for whatever you have, but it is you to really share it on different media platforms. Technology has made it easier for everyone to really cope up with the changing trends, and also the e-system of marketing, and that is where you'll be able to really get a glimpse of whoever wants to buy whatever you are producing. And it is through these kind of platforms that you'll be able to really share what you have for a wider marketing. And marketing has been one of the challenges people face in any enterprise, in businesses, in different entrepreneurial skills. And you can just go to your phone and really type +256 765 288 2281. I repeat, +765 282 281, and that is where you'll be able to really reach the management or the people in charge of marketing at West Nile Television, and that's where you'll be able to really get your products marketed or really advertised. And those who want to use the email addresses, you can go to your email slot and really say West Nile TV station at gmail.com. But also you can follow us on our website channels and that websites, and that's where you will get us at https://www.westnile actually https://westniletv.co.ug, and that's where you'll be able to really get what is there on the website. You'll be able to share a lot of things from that kind of platform, and you'll be able to really get connected to the people who are marketing, the people who are doing all these kind of things at that kind of on that kind of platform. And also we have WhatsApp groups that if you are part of it, you should be able to share with us where you're watching us from, and also many other kind of things. But those who have woken up, we say thank you. You should be able to prepare yourself to go for work. And those who are watching us from the districts of Maracha, Koboko, Yumbe, Terego, Ajumani, Pakwach, and Zombo. This is the Upper Nile. You should be grateful that we are here to really encourage you to share with us development ideas, to share with us issues that are happening in the communities, to share with us whatever you want to really learn from some of the experts that we are ever bringing here. But also those across the Nile, we have those in Madisha region, we have people from Obongi, people from Moyo, people from Ajumani. We say thank you for also joining us, and those who are in groups of the default groups that have been formed to really continue preaching the gospel of West Nile TV. We say thank you very much. I know it has been an effort put by you people, and we are grateful that we'll be really continuing to sensitize people to this kind of platforms to ensure that wider coverage is realized. And those who are watching us from different parts of the country, those in Lango and the Tulsa regions, those in the eastern, central, Kampala area, that is metropolitan area, and also those in Western. We say thank you. You should be able to continue watching this television, where you are able to get live what is happening on ground. And those in diaspora, we say thank you for really also being part of this television. You can go to your YouTube channels and share with us where you're watching us from, and also if there are issues that you want to really bring up, you should be able to share them with us all. And I remember yesterday, Arua district celebrated the White Cane Day in a style by really doing it in another form, where people sat down. It was a kind of dialogue. Okay, the district decided to dialogue in commemoration of the White Cane Day, and many other issues that featured in this were the issues to do with the rehabilitation center that was meant to really help or equip people with disabilities to really get knowledge, skills, and expertise. I will say knowledge to really continue to improve their livelihood. And this institution was put by Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development to ensure that persons with disabilities and those vulnerable persons in the communities get access to vocational skills. And this is where all the sub-counties, all the districts in Western region are expected to send at least participants to go for this training. And one of the issues in this facility is the issue of land grabbing by the neighboring communities, because this land was not secured and so on. It really attracted a lot of issues. And remember, last financial year, Arua district lost 6 billion shillings that was meant to come and facilitate the activities in this facility. And that is one issue that persons with visual impairment fronted yesterday, and they actually requested at the office of the security led by the district commissioner to really allow them to demonstrate in protest over the issues to do with the land grabbing, the dwindling support by government to improve the facility, and also the outcome of the products from that facility. Because remember now that the school has survived for quite a long period of time, and the issue of enrollment has really so far really dwindled because of these uncertainties. Sometimes communities come and close this facility. At some point it gets off, and that is one thing that community members are really trying to really push very, very hard. Remember, in Arua district, the only institution that is able to provide for persons with disability is only Eruba Primary School of the Deaf, and that is only accommodating a section of the persons with disability or impairment. And this really affects many people, leaving them really out of education, and that's where the issues of inclusivity is not really well connected in the district. And many of them are also advocating that there should be an establishment of more schools for persons with disability that is able to accommodate all the impairments, and this should have started from a primary, secondary, tertiary, and other vocational institutions be established. And community members say that they are ready to really provide land to have these structures put, but what is remaining is to show where the land is, but also ensuring that government is able to really fast track the establishment of institutions for persons with disability. And that is one thing that is coming up there. And there are issues that are coming up that some of the partners have really donated equipments, for instance, the braille machines and other accessories to especially Arivu sub-county local government, but these are staying idle because there are no people, no people to really operate these machines. But also in the schools where they are supposed to be put, there are no teachers who are there to really help the learners with these kind of things. And those are some of the issues that are coming up from that kind of dialogue. And remember, this dialogue was really there to ensure that the plight of the persons with disability and those, especially the visual impairment group, are able to really heard. Okay, that's why they said the White Cane Day should be not only for the visual impaired, but the persons with disabilities generally, so that everyone is able to put some message on whatever is transpiring, what difficulties they have, what opportunities they have, and those are some of the issues. Remember, the special grant for persons with disability has been scrapped off, and they are left with one grant that is meant for them. But the concerns that were raised around this area was the dwindling figures that are realized under the support from government, and the issues to do with incorporation on the Paris development model. The 10% seems to be meager to them, and they also raised about this. But also looking at people's interaction with these persons with disability on the roads. There were concerns about some drivers not really recognizing the white cane when these persons are really trying to put the stick or the white cane to pave way for them to really move. And if this was really something true, we should be able to really make sure that the people living with various kind of impairment be helped within time, so that they are able to really also move freely, they are able to exercise their responsibilities, they are able to really achieve the goals that they are supposed to also really have, or that they have set to really achieve, because these are human beings. These are people who were maybe in one way or the other who were living in a normal life, but because of circumstances, talk about diseases might have forced them to become blind. Sometimes accidents might have caused them to become physically disabled, and those are some of the issues. We are all potential candidates. Let's support them when we are still okay. And when we join that category, when we enroll into that category, we should be ready to get the fruits of whatever we did when we were still normal. And those are some of the things that are really there to ensure that people with persons living with different impairments are able to be helped. But also in accessing health services, there are issues to do with the inaccessible beds for especially the mothers who have conceived, who want to deliver. Many times they cannot climb. Sometimes they don't know where the beds are. It is supposed to be that they are guided to really access these kind of things. But many times their concerns have been about the health workers not attending to them rightly, not really giving them the time, and also feeling that they are not supposed to get conceived. You hear some of the languages that are spoken that they have ever cited that well, you know that you are blind. Why did you go and engage yourself into sexual intercourse? And also those are some of the issues, that how did you do it? You see that those kind of words that do not really motivate a human being because of the situation is not really something good. We need to really look at our behaviors. We need to look at the kind of words, the choice of words that we can use towards a fellow human being, whether being impaired, whether not impaired. We all deserve a better life to live, and that is very, very critical for us to really take from, and also understand that we are all human beings. We may one day become like them, and so we should be able to really help them when we are able. Okay, that is it. And moving away from that, there are a lot of issues that are also happening elsewhere. Remember, yesterday there were a number of issues that happened around the Nile Belt, and that is in Madiokolo district. Remember, a number of institutions, especially the seed schools, are registering low turnout of learners, and this is attributed to really the challenges of people's perception about these government-aided secondary schools. Many of these schools have just come into these kind of districts, and the mobilization to ensure that children fail in these institutions has not been enough, and this is a worry. Right now, most of these seed schools have not really moved into enrolling learners to the capacity, and this is one thing that is affecting government's energy, government's effort in realizing equitable service delivery. But we are demanding for more infrastructures. Why is it that we can't really take a very drastic measure to ensure that children or students are able to come to these institutions? Because these institutions are meant to expand knowledge, to ensure that free access to education is achieved. If it is to be achieved, then we need the learners in schools. Who are those people who are supposed to encourage people to come to schools? We have different stakeholders. The district leaders talk about the political wing, the technical wing, up to the villages. The LSU one is there, is the master of ceremony, the master of or the president of that village, the fountain of honor of the village, but he or she has a role to play in mobilizing communities to support government programs, but also the communities have a role to play in ensuring that a lot is achieved in terms of improving or moving away from illiteracy, and this can easily be achieved when we have educated persons in our societies, and that is one thing we can do if we want to really move very far, and that is it. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll be able to really move into some of the issues, and also and also really make sure that you are able to be updated with what is happening within the region, within the country, and within the continent Africa. Thank you.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Our style. Start Times UPL new season starts 15th September. Go for it.
What a finish for Master Fukume!
The Ugandan flair, Brazilian samba, Portuguese magic, the night football craze. More TV games live on Senyuka Prime and Fufa TV only on Star Times. The Star Times UPL. Our league. Go for it.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Football, our boys, our style. Star Times UPL new season starts 15th September. Go for it!
What a finish from Kukume!
The Ugandan flair, Brazilian samba, Portuguese magic, the night football craze. More TV games live on Senyuka Prime and Fufa TV only on Star Times. The Star Times UPL, our league. Go for it!
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Football, our boys, our style. Star Times UPL new season starts 15th September. Go for it!
What a finish from Kukume!
The Ugandan flair, Brazilian samba, Portuguese magic, the night football craze. More TV games live on Senyuka Prime and Fufa TV only on Star Times. The Star Times UPL, our league. Go for it!
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
All right, welcome back from that commercial break. Although I know that it has been a very extended one, I'm very happy that you are still watching West Nile Television. This is the Kokoliriko Live that you have every Monday to Friday, and at such an hour when we have guests, we are able to really bring you pertinent issues that are happening, especially those that affect the community, and we want to really move really so strict and really understand some of the issues that happen in the communities. Before I introduce my guests, for those who are still watching or following the updates, there are already worries about the injury that Gabriel Jesus got for Arsenal Football Club, and those who are in the sporting world should be able to follow it from there. And many other stories about the war in Israel, and many other countries are trying to back off from that kind of war. Remember the recent war, the Russian-Ukraine war, was also one of the serious issues that many countries were trying to follow in line with some of the guidelines that they think they could be able to benefit from. But that are some of the stories that are happening across the world. But let's come back to what we want to really discuss. I earlier on informed you that we'll be discussing about gender-based violence situation in West Nile, but specifically looking at Arua district as our key study and look at what is currently happening. Remember, we are just 2 months to close the year. What has been happening? What has changed? What is it that we have done as government to really improve service delivery? Remember, this television is there to really bring up some of those kind of issues, but also give accountability of how far government has gone in as far as improving service delivery. But also, if people have failed to take to their mantle or to really do whatever it takes that we have ever given to them, that means we are always really putting our efforts into a waste. And those are things we want to really discuss, where the gaps are, where the success stories are. We are not only looking at the gaps, but we are looking at also the success stories. I have a guest from Arua district, that is the senior probation and welfare officer, that is Edward Indra, who is with me here. Edward, you are most welcome to West Nile TV studios.
Thank you, my host. That is none other than Mr. Dramadri.
Okay, that is him, and he has a lot of knowledge to do with probation and welfare issues, but also being also somebody who has served in various capacities. He has more knowledge to give us, and maybe let's move direct to the points. What is it that contains around GBV, if you look at the situation in the district?
Yes, first of all, I want to say thank you very much. Gender-based violence, I want to say, is violence meted against males or females by two genders. Yes.
Okay.
So it is pain inflicted, and when we are addressing this, I want to bring to our attention clearly that Arua district local government is to the south of the city, consisting of 4 sub-counties of Ajia, Rivol, Logri, and Bora. Yes.
Okay. So what is the situation like? Maybe paint us a picture of the GBV situation in the district.
Yes, I want to give a reflection back from roughly the time, the aftermath of COVID. COVID had its own challenges, and that is when we are still in larger Arua, but although Arua district was an entity, I was serving Arua city as well. And I want just to pick an aspect of GBV in regard to the girl child. Defilement rose to the extent of 6,223, that is according to the records which was captured from the health centers in the catchment of Arua Referral Hospital. That was very high. Then zeroing down to Arua district local government, as schools commenced after the aftermath of GBV, there was some support, some funding where we are supposed to assist the girl child who were pregnant or lactating, but whose parents were encouraged in response to the appeal which was put by Minister of Education to have those girls back in school. And so we moved to some sample schools in Arua district. For instance, we moved to Arevo Primary School. We got a case there. Okova Primary School, we got a case there. We moved to the whole of Ajia district, the schools in Ajia district. We never got any case. And that does not definitely mean that Ajia was faring well. And then we moved on to Ringili Primary School. There were some cases there, and then Wava Primary School, and eventually moved on to Opia Primary School. There was a case there, and then to Ketekele, and then eventually towards Kampala market side to 2 schools there. We got certain cases there, and so what I deduced from that was when you could do comparative analysis of the 4 sub-counties, The two sub-counties, the three sub-counties, I think were responding and therefore were positive, but your GS sub-county had a challenge.
Okay.
GS sub-county is essentially traditional. In other words, a GS sub-county is more towards the culture of the girl child when she is just in teens, has to be married off. So as a result of consumer, they never responded. So when you get a sub-county without any case, responsive case, which means it is normal to them. So that is the biggest challenge we are facing.
Okay.
Yes.
So what are the measures you put, for instance, for GS just to really capture those kind of cases, but also what other measures have you taken to ensure that these cases are also captured, also to ensure that some of the perpetrators are also arrested? Remember, these GBV cases are handled in different ways depending on the gravity. Some of them are criminals in nature that they attract capital offenses kind of things, but also there are others that are mild that can be talked about, and they end by giving advice to some kind of people just in that way. What are those things that you have so far done to ensure that people are able to cope up or catch up with the mechanisms of solving GBV in different communities by government?
Okay. When you're responding to GBV, I just singled out an aspect of it, which was to do with the defilement. However, let me get to the question you are raising. The government has a structure. Right at the district level, you have the probation office, which works hand in hand with the other justice, law, and other sectors. For instance, in the police, we have the section that is gender section, and then family and child and family protection unit. We work very closely with those, and then there are other government agencies up to the magistrates level. So we link together with this. We work together with them as a team. And then from the district, when you cascade downwards, we have the CDOs who represent us at the sub-county level. And then from the CDOs, good enough, Save the Children International has come to our aid. There used to be a structure of parasocial workers. Yes, they came in to boost it up, and then they have just been giving training to, or refresher training to new parasocial workers, totaling to 203 in the sub-counties of Ajia, in sub-county of Vora, and then in sub-county of Logiri for beginning. Then Arrivo will be captured in the second phase. And so they've trained these parasocial workers who are very instrumental right from the time we swung into action. We swung into action of training these parasocial workers. The first week, I think they were very responsible. They were already putting into practice what they were learning. And then right now also the district is in the Save the Children through the district is in the process of recruiting 4 social welfare officers. The process is virtually complete. And equipping them with the logistics. They will be given 4 motorcycles, one having each, therefore, to coordinate with the parasocial workers. We've just delivered 102 bicycles to the 3 sub-counties to facilitate the parasocial workers to be able to move on to the ground, to be able to detect challenges to do with GBV and then feed us. So that is one of the structures. Then also in the local council system, all the vice chairpersons are responsible for children affairs. We work very closely with those. And then we have religious institutions. We work closely with them. And again, we have the cultural institutions like the Logbarakari, with whom we've been working very closely.
Okay.
Yes.
So if you look at gender-based violence, it's a broad term. Many people continue to say that gender-based violence is mostly the maybe violence against women, children, and so on. But we've seen in different scenarios other aspects like violence against men, boys, and also looking at other issues that come into to be as an aspect of GBV. Maybe can you clear our doubt around this area? Many times partners talk about GBV, they rush and say the girl child. They say maybe the woman, and so on. Those are some of the issues. Is it only that under GBV we are focusing at the women and the girl child, or there are other interventions tailored towards the men?
Maybe first of all look at the aspect of violence. Violence manifests itself in about 4 forms. One is physical violence, where you physically assault somebody. And then emotional violence has a lot to do with abuse, where you hurt the feelings of this person. Maybe you describe this person or you abuse this person, and you make the person feel so bad. And then the third aspect now is more to do with sexual violence. I want to cite an example. On around 8th of October, just recently, an 87-year-old woman was raped. Okay? Was raped. And the matter came to the attention of the police here. It was again a police here, and we followed the case, and we are in the process of still following up and having the perpetrator brought to book. You see, that is sexual assault. And then these cases of defilement also sexual violence, fall under sexual violence. And then there is economic violence, where you deprive somebody in aspect of means of surviving, which may be in kind, or which may be which may be in kind, or which may be in financial form. So this gives the basis, and violence is mainly meted against the females. Mainly meted against the females. That's why some people now remain focused on the women, the girl child, the women and the girl child. And then when you end up also putting a lot of emphasis on the girl child, for instance, there is a challenge of deprivation of the rights and the opportunities the boy child is supposed to get. And now you ask yourself the question, these girl children you're empowering while forgetting about the boy children, you see, to whom are they going to get married? With whom do they socialize? Therefore, is an empowered girl child without a boy child safe? Is he safe? In other words, if you only concentrate on the girl child or the women, you are causing you are creating a strong basis for an advanced form of violence. In other words, the men who are uneducated getting now married to women who are educated. There are situations which are going to arise out of that. There is an orchestration of violence definitely going to come out of that, a little bit more pronounced. And then look at the young men now mainly sitting by the roadside or idling or committing crimes, okay, or in contact with the law, yet they are living with the other sex. So when we are approaching the issue of empowerment, we need to be conscious of that background. Thank you.
Okay. So maybe for those who did not know, Arua District Local Government in 2022-2023 financial year spent 28 billion Ugandan shillings. This is out of maybe the supplementaries if we don't add them. And I remember out of this, it was only 286 million Ugandan shillings that was apportioned to the Community Services Department, where you have so many areas that need to be facilitated, empowered, and so on, out of 28 billion. And this is one thing that has continued to affect the implementation of different projects under this department. And where GBV and also the Community Services Department falls is where you have these issues, cases of GBV, cases of many other kind of issues to do with children, to do with persons with disability, women, and so on, are all catered for. Maybe let's move to that. In terms of finances, how has this been supported by government?
Thank you. We are not doing very well, as you've rightly observed. We follow under Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development.
Yes.
They also have a challenge at national level. And then these challenges cascaded down to us. Therefore, even the local revenues we have is so meager. So meager. And then, as you rightly observed, also the amount allocated to handle GBV issues is so low. Because when you're handling these issues, there are certain challenges and complications. I won't mention them at this stage yet, because these processes begin right at the grassroots. And then from the grassroots, they must eventually reach, for instance, the police, and from the police, they have to proceed to the state, and from the state eventually be cascaded upwards to the court. There are some which can be handled at certain levels, maybe LC1 court and the rest of that, but there are some of them which are not within the mandate of those lower structures. So in this particular case, these funds are a big challenge, very big challenge. Funding is a big challenge, but I want to recognize UNFP, for instance, here under Dr. Bakomeza. They are aiding us so much.
Okay.
They are aiding us so much. And then Spotlight Initiative also came to our aid. My 3 years experience is these have been complementing government efforts as partners in development and addressing particularly these issues to do with GBV. Yes.
Okay. So besides the partner support, what are some of those issues that you are really fronting to ensure that without even the partners, you are able to really at least do some work with the meager resources?
Okay. First of all, majority of the issues which are so complicated, which we are handling in the area of GBV, is the girl-child defilement. The boy-child is relatively doing better, because boy-child defilement, the cases, not many, are coming to our attention. But the challenge with girl-child defilement is, since it is a neo-culture embedded in Lugbara culture, I'm saying it is a neo-culture embedded in Lugbara culture, because during the era of my mother, my grandparents, the oral tradition I got from them is they would get married at a ripe age when their breasts, for instance, are falling crescent down on their chest, which means that it is around between the age of 20 and 25. But this culture of the girl child from the age of 13 to 18, or the teenage pregnancies, arise, I think, out of different factors. It is not part of Lugbara culture, you must say clearly. Yes.
Okay. So looking at that, we'll be really able to come back and discuss more of the issues to do with gender-based violence, especially the issues to do with the response challenges, and what is it that the local governments are finding it difficult to tackle some of these issues to do with the physical violence, sexual violence, and those are very key that we have seen being coming at police. And let's take a break from here. we'll be able to come back and really understand some of those critical issues that are happening under this kind of discussions that we are now stepping now, talking about gender-based violence in Arua district. Thank you.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Starts 15th September. Go for it.
What a finish for Master Fukume.
The Ugandan flair, Brazilian samba, Portuguese magic, the night football craze. More TV games live on Senyuka Prime and Fufa TV only on Star Times. The Star Times UPL. Our league. Go for it.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
All right, welcome back from that commercial break. Earlier on, we were discussing the issues to do with the GBV situation in the Arua district, but we want to go deeper into this with my guest and also really make sure that we're able to bring you the gaps that exist, but also for those who are able to help government in moving faster to achieving some of these kind of things, especially things of behavioral change that we want to really have in among the people. Talk about the issues that have been imported, some of the cultures that have been imported into the Lugbara culture that are now affecting some of the cultural values that we had instilled in the people. For instance, the issues of defilement, where people are not ready to report the issues, but also how do we make sure that all that we have, the people that we have, are engaged in very economically viable activities, other than really concentrating on some of these issues that bring a lot of poverty, for instance, hanging around the roads and so on, counting vehicles that are not there for statistics, and those are some of the things we want to really move further. I still have Edward Indra, who is the Senior Probation and Welfare Officer of Arua District. We are still discussing the issues to do with the GBV situation in Arua District, but also other districts. You'll be able to assess them from these kind of issues, because he's just left with, I think, 2 or 3 years to retire.
1.5 years.
1.5 years to retire. So he's more knowledgeable in this field than any other person. So you'll be able to get a detailed analysis of what happens in the local governments in as far as responding to this kind of things. Maybe, Edward, let's move to the issues to do with response to some of these cases. How do you find it easy or difficult in responding to some of the GBV cases that are reported to your office or through your probation and welfare channels?
Okay, thank you. The first challenge, I already mentioned it. I think to a greater extent due to the level of poverty, because Lugbara society used to be resource secure Food was available, there was garden, and then children would be with their parents. But now, this is an era where unless you move, you can't survive. You can't survive. Unless you move, you can't survive. And so from this perspective, I deduce that poverty is at a higher level. And people are not working very hard. So because of poverty, people are struggling to survive to the extent that I call it in quotes, human trafficking. Because if you are able to allow your girl child who is supposed to be educated, who is supposed to be empowered, give her over for just few goats or one sheep and some few goats, then it is a big challenge. That level of poverty is high, which means you now stick to that name. I normally call it Za Mva Beri Nyanya. Milenika tiwerebo kedo mbandrebo milenika izido zo mbandrezobo bale beri nyanya za nyangazwali. That is eating meat out of the girl child. You give her away. That's why I describe it as trafficking. So it has become normal, embedded in our way of life to the extent that when somebody picks a young lady, you don't report it. That's one of the biggest problems. The second problem is there are those who will want to report, but the reporting is strategic.
Strategic.
It's strategic. Strategic, it means that since you wanted to eat out of the perpetrator, and the perpetrator is not behaving or yielding, so you report to the police. And once the perpetrator is scared and they compensate you with those few things, you lose interest in the case. That is a very big challenge, because that's where one of the major factors why these cases die at the police, at the first reporting level. And then thirdly, we have skeletal police staff at sub-county or at the grassroots level. And there are issues to do with the reporting, with the arresting, with the investigation, and mention them. I don't want to talk for the police. I am aware that they are given means of transport, but I don't know whether they are given fuel to facilitate them to reach to this lower level. I can't speak on that. So the challenge normally I receive from my community is regarding issues now to do with the arrest and investigation. Is this grassroots person has a challenge to meet, he's already poor. For arrest to be effected, you have to facilitate the police or put fuel. And at times the fuel is exorbitant. It becomes a challenge. And then you are saying you report. Ugandan law is evidence-based. Somebody is extorting money from you. He's not signing anywhere. You report. And then you'll say, the law will say, where is the evidence? That's where part of the jargon is. And then having undertaken all this, yeah, the case must go further, yes, to the state, if it is sanctioned, to the court. How many times does this needy, helpless person travel, for instance, from Logiri, Uganda-Congo border, up to Arua? Where does he get the money to travel? If there is it a backlog of cases? You come this day, the case is mentioned. The other time you are coming, it is pushed ahead. You see, that's another big challenge. And then yet the other challenge is the law. Part of our partners are the lawyers, okay? I think the law, conventionally they are described as the learned, which means when they pronounce themselves. For instance, at the State Attorney's Chamber, when the sanction files, they see whether it qualifies. So actually, when they say it doesn't qualify and the file is sent back and the suspect is released, that's a big challenge. I'm not saying that they depend on the law. You can't now question. Especially, I don't want to talk to in regard to other level of the society or the communities, but that person from Wajir, from rural Vora, from which other end. So yes, a case was reported and then here sanctioned. Even the suspects may be got lying, but then evidence is not sufficient. That aspect of evidence not being sufficient is a big challenge. And then the invisible hands also, without evidence now. Allegations that money is extorted at various levels. So then, how can this issue be addressed? Corruption, in other words. That's another major challenge. The question of evidence is a major challenge.
Okay.
These are few out of many I have cited for the time being.
Okay.
And then there are cases also where arrests affected, issues move up to a certain level, but you come to hear that there was a tall brother or relative or a force beyond influencing whether this, because the suspect who is locked in is a relative. So, how can this be handled?
Okay.
Yes, that's a challenge.
All right, those are some of the issues that are really from a practical bit of handling GBV cases. We have heard from police several times about the issues of some people, especially the civil servants, rejecting maybe sanctions against them, and also really maybe when there are notices for them to report to court or case or police to answer some of these cases that are reported against them, especially the men. And I don't know if this is true, and also how does people, or how do people respond to you people, especially when we talk about civil servants who are also involved in the GBV. Many times we tend to give them respect because of their capacities and so on, and we write to them formally that there's this case or this case against you, you have to respond and give for us answers, or we want to really derive a mechanism of solving this issue in an amicable way, not other than really going to court, or to handle it in a way, a better way, that you are not exposed, or we're able to handle it within the reach, so that you are able to continue with your work. You have ever handled some of these kind of cases? I don't know what the experience is. Maybe if you can give us how you have been able to handle them, whether there was cooperation, because many times police has given a lot of accusations towards the civil servants who are not really respecting that time that is given for them to really freely chat with the officers other than arresting them to come to answer.
Yes, thank you very much. I think I want to say, as I came in as a senior probation officer around 2020, I worked both with the current city and Arua district. I think these types of cases, some of them came to my notice. Particularly, I work very closely up to now with the Child and Protection Unit, and then the gender sector. They've been very, very cooperative, and I would cite one or two of such cases. I think there was violence meted against a prison officer whose wife, not wife, it was the wife, yes, but this time, due to certain factors, they separated, but she had the girl child. So the father wanted to educate this girl child. And this civil servant, a teacher somewhere, was wild. Efforts were made to call her so that we sit together, failed. And there was no way out. I had to get in touch with the police, and in the afternoon she was arrested and brought to book. That is one. And not only civil servants, in Arivo sub-county, there is a self-styled pastor of one of the Christian sects who is alleged to have defiled a girl child. I think we went up to Vura sub-county headquarters with you that particular time to follow the case about 11-year-old girl child, and this is supposed to be a man of God who is supposed to protect this girl child. We effected arrest, and actually even right at the Arivo police station, His colleagues, pastors, I call them fake pastors, were threatening even the OC. Were challenging the OC. But you remember when we went to Ovisoni, since we knew each other, when I told them that I'm the senior probation officer, within a few minutes they disappeared from there. There are those types of cases. I would have mentioned more, but I've just cited these few in regard to that. Yes, this happens.
Okay, how does this kind of situation compromise your work as senior probation and welfare officers, or maybe the people who are handling this kind of cases? How do they interfere with your work that will be really going smoothly, or how does it really affect it?
Okay, we play various roles with our partners in justice, law and order sector. We don't enforce arrest. Our role stops at a certain level. When there is when someone and there is no response, we definitely link with the police. And then they are the ones supposed to go and effect arrest. And then we follow up.
Okay.
And so that's where the challenge is. At times, the community protects the suspects. I remember a case which was critical, a domicile of the city. A woman from Western Uganda with a kid, and his Mandri, both from another marriage. They were very well, they came back with the husband, and at a certain stage, I think due to influence, she was abandoned. And when she was trying to follow up with her husband, the relatives beat her badly. She was hospitalized, and eventually, because of the child, she came over to us. We tried to summon the husband. He never cooperated. We got in touch with the police. Actually, they went up to that venue, the whole vehicle, but the suspect was concealed. That's the times the challenge we face with the police. And so I had to eventually hand over the matter to the RCC then, as now we phased off into our jurisdiction of Arua district, local government.
Okay. So those are some of the issues, the typical scenarios that we'll be able to hear from such kind of officers. And remember, as communities, we have a lot to do in making sure that we have a society that has the rightful or good morals. Okay, morals are exhibited and looked at in different ways, looking at the characters of the people you live with, and also you'll be choosing where to belong in terms of the behaviors that a society is having, and it is a concerted effort between or among stakeholders to ensure that we have a very peaceful society. Maybe let's move back to some of the issues that are happening within the district. What are some of these contributing factors to this kind of vice that we call as a GBV in the district?
Maybe allow me to first of all give living examples we are handling now.
Okay.
I mentioned 87 years old, grandmother, actually an octogenarian, a young man with 2 wives, 40 years old, leaving these wives there and going to assault and rape. See, that's very challenging. I suspect there could be issues of drug abuse or conflicts within land. Just wanting, actually, to me, it is like he wanted to kill this old woman because she's a strong character, she's a witness, she knew the boundaries of the land, that sort of situation. And then secondly, we handled certain cases. Recent, just last week, I think last week, okay, a P5 girl child delivered in Kuluva Hospital. And this girl child was deprived of education in March this year. And having been deprived, it was difficult to trace this fellow. But now when she came to deliver, we trapped the husband there with the joint security of Kuluva and the police. And harvested him, and I think he probably could have already been sentenced. I'm yet to follow. And then as if that's not enough, earlier this year, somebody from Orivo in the city here went to dig at S4, S6 liver and requested Ochi to volunteer as a teacher. Before he volunteered for over 1 month, he harvested. He defiled a girl child in P5 and harvested her and ran. We are tracing him in conjunction with the police working in the city in relation to Ajir police. And then apart from that, Bongova Primary, I had mentioned Bongova Primary School, this Choco issue. And then there is another case where we effected arrest the day before yesterday. P5 girl, also defiled and taken away as a wife. But I appreciate the parents, the relatives of these girls for cooperating with us and the police. And so we have already arrested the suspect, and he's in the process of facing the law. These are some of the real cases on the ground I'm citing, yes. So your question, the other question was?
Yes, what are the factors that are influencing some of these GBV cases to be on the rise in the district?
Yes, one is what I call poverty, but basically based on idleness. And then alcoholism and drug abuse is a major factor. And then the level of social activities, both discos, disco places in trading centers, and also at funerals, we used to have Christian solemn hymns sung. But there is now the new culture of playing Christian gospel, which to me is very good, at funerals over the night, using PA system. But this has now provided a second version of discos at funerals.
That is not paid for.
That is not paid for.
And the taxes are not collected.
And then it is typical situation of when you see the youth behaving there, even almost falling on the dead body, which we used not to have in our culture, in our surrounding. It tantamounts to actually like we are becoming witches. Okay? And then somebody has died while those activities are taking place there. The replacement of the dead person is actually being made
the whole
in the bush, in the bush the whole night. Now, what are we as Logbara or as West Nile community? What are we getting to? You see? So these social activities, even marriage activities, I like one, I appreciate what the Roman Catholic Synod has done. At least some of the parishes are sticking and they put very stringent measures regarding the discourse at the funeral places. And I've quite studied those places in my district. There is a certain degree of sanity there. And I want to appreciate also, is it the cultural leadership of Alur.
Yes.
In marriage ceremonies, they have limited the days for celebration. It used to be quite a number of days, where now these evils will prevail. So it has been curtailed there. I want to cite this as the most immediate challenges, but the root cause is, I call it parenting. How can my 11, 12 years, 13 years old girl child get out to be defiled in a disco or by a pastor at 11, 12 o'clock? Where were I? And then what is the sanity, we as parents, of our marriages? How do we produce? Do we plan? After producing, do we live? Children like the Mbabus, these are rights. They produce and leave the children to themselves, to fend for themselves, survival for the fittest. That's what I tend to see more now. So parenting must be addressed if the issue of GBV and here specializing in the area of child abuse has to reduce. And even the overall GBV, the causes are partly what I've mentioned. In the rural areas, husbands compete with the men. And then some of the philosophies we have somewhere in one of my districts. There was a philosophy strongly built by women.
Wow.
So
how is this affecting really the dignity that we really would want to see in a family? What is the combination of that? Like, it's like women are becoming to be people who want to shift from one husband to the other. So how is this really affecting relationships in these families?
Yes, one, you broadcast, the woman broadcasts her seeds almost everywhere. If she's productive, she'll produce here, leave this one, produce the other end, leave there, and then produce until she strikes menopause. Okay? Which means these children are left without proper parenting. And then the husband himself also will have to begin picking other women. Yes, our traditional culture accommodated polygamy, and it was to a greater extent productive. The reasons were there. But now the type of polygamy we have is without security. Or I don't know how to describe this one. What we now tend to see is more with the young men and women is, I don't know, successive. Is it successive marriages? You pick a girl. When you are fed up, you separate, leaving these children. She gets married elsewhere. You also get another woman. And when the going gets tough, you separate. You see, the vicious circle of separation until you get exhausted, and then you have created time bomb of children who are unempowered. Okay. Children whom now you set ready as missiles to destroy other children. That sort of scenario.
Okay. Okay, those who are following us, and now we are still discussing the issues to do with the gender-based violence situation in the rural district, but also tackling some of the issues that are happening across some of the districts. Remember, a rural district is a sure example for West Nile, because this is where all these local governments came from, and that's very, very important. When we talk about issues in a rural district, this might be cross-cutting issues. If you look at the aspect of gender-based violence, most times it is the same situation in different local governments, but the difference is only the figures. But the causes, the what, and so on, interventions that are put are all tailored in the same direction, because this is centralized, or a channel that starts from local governments up to central government, and this is guided by the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. And this reminds me of one thing that the parenting guidelines that were disseminated by Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development in 2022. I don't know if you have the copy. So if you have, what is the challenge in terms of empowering our parents in order to take up to their responsibilities? Maybe in 2 minutes, if we can wind up that before we go for a break. Yes.
Yes, first of all, parents, when I would say when they get into relationship, wanting to become now parents, from potential to active parents, they have to take time to identify which partner. They have to plan. And then from planning, space, childbearing, based on their resources. And when they begin having these children, they should definitely cooperate and pay maximum attention, providing emotional support, providing, giving proper feeding, and then apart from that, shelter should be appropriate with clothing and the rest of that. Medical attention has to be sufficient for a child, and then education has to be provided at the appropriate time. At the appropriate time. For instance, the girl child, the appropriate time to have this girl in P1 is between the age of 6 and 7. Why? She would be informed educationally of her makeup biologically first before she strikes the MP or the menstruation time, such that when she meets now challenges, she would know how to handle herself. But where you send a girl child to school at the age of 8, 9, 10, should be like a domestic animal which has been in the bush, and then suddenly you are bringing it into the town to behave like the town goats. It will definitely be knocked by a vehicle because it is not yet fully, she doesn't know about herself. By the time she reaches a critical time when now the wild dog begins barking.
Those are the ones we used to describe as the grandmother or the grandfather of P1s.
Yes.
Those moments where those kind of children always shy away because many of them would really criticize them with those terms that you are the grandmother, you are the grandfather of P1s. And those are things that really demoralize some of the children from continuing with the education. So early childhood education is also very important, just like he has said. Let's take a break. We'll be coming back to really talk about some of the issues around GBV, but also a brief highlight of some of the issues that are happening outside within the range of GBV. Thank you.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Starts 15th September. Go for it.
What a finish from Fukume.
The Ugandan flair, Brazilian samba, Portuguese magic, the night football craze. More TV games live on Senyuka Prime and Fufa TV only on Star Times. The Star Times UPL. Our league, go for it.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Okay, welcome back from that commercial break. We're still within the range of the GBV situation in Erua district, but also understanding some of the issues that are really contributing to this GBV, because it is not something that you may think will come just like a storm, but it is something that is triggered by other factors. Okay, looking at you as an individual, if you are not staying well with your neighbors, you can easily cause conflicts in your area, and those are some of the things. It starts from your behavioral changes, but also stinginess makes it worse. Sometimes we talk about poverty, but you might have deprived your family economically in terms of not facilitating maybe the purchase of food items in your home and so on. That's because you feel like you are overspending on food, you want to take a lot of liquor, and those are some of the things that are contributing. So once you are realized or reported to have not cared for your family, you can easily be arrested. And Ugandan laws are very clear now that if you cannot, as a parent, educate your children, they can easily take you to jail, so that they maybe tap on some of the resources that you are wasting to really divert them to educate the children, which is quite unfortunate. Living without a parent is another challenge that many children have really faced in this situation. Now, let me drive the attention of my guest, that is the Senior Probation and Welfare Officer of Warua District, that is Edward Intra, to this situation that we are seeing on the streets, mainly in a rural town where you find young girls throwing or dumping children on the streets, the newborn that are dumped in garbage bins and so on, in toilets, that we have seen everywhere. And this situation has been worsened by many of the factors that we talk about: teenage pregnancies, the issues to do with irresponsible to-be parents, and so on, many others that have really come upon this. And we have seen many statistics being issued from the Child and Family Protection Unity, that is at the regional offices, where we show like 65 of these cases reported last year, but this year we have continued to hear about these stories happening within Arua District, Arua City, and many other districts in Western region. And this is where we are coming from. What do you think is going wrong with our society looking at these kind of issues? Because we used not to hear of people dumping the children, people neglecting services for their children. Yes.
Yes.
Take it from there.
Thank you, my host. The reality, some of the factors I already mentioned them. And then citing real examples when the city was still within my jurisdiction, as I was in the process of handing over. There were quite a number of those types of cases we handled. During the COVID time around Giaco in the forest, when there was lockdown, a lady went and delivered a nice baby there at 10 o'clock. How she got there, you would wonder. And dumped her small dress, which was bloody, on the baby, severe they called, and she left the baby to be eaten. But God, being almighty, brought somebody who brought this child to our attention. The child is very healthy and growing now. I will not say where. 2, another lady dumped a baby, Pajulu end, in a latrine. And 2 other young men, a young man and his girlfriend, were going for disco. But they had the baby cry in a latrine. But good enough, she didn't dump the baby into the pit. And they collected this baby, brought to our attention with the police. And we were able to track the mother and gave this baby back to the mother and kept monitoring her closely, giving her an opportunity, one opportunity before producing her, before the courts of law. And then the most heart-rending was the Tioli, dumped by the roadside. The other home on the other side at night had a baby. The other one had a baby. This baby was crying. The other home thought that this is the other one's baby, the same. Then, unfortunately, or did it rain? I think something like it rained. And the baby was late. There's another case in the same area where a baby was dumped. It cried. The following day, the head of the baby was got. The dogs had eaten the baby, the rest of the part. That's how challenging it is. It goes back to parenting. There is a case where I was called all the way from Kampala, again from Pajulu around a day of along the Giligili Road. I linked with the city. That girl disappeared, left the child and the grandmother stranded here. She was so problematic. And at the end of the day, we were able to link her back. In most cases, these children, it's not really being orphaned, but the main challenge behind it is more so to do with parenting. In most cases, the parents have separated. And before they separated, their household was characterized by advanced stage of GBV. And so children got siphoned into it. And actually, I must communicate to my listeners. When in the community at school you see a child, very rough, between P1 and P5, even up to P7, beating the other one, and it is normal, kicking the other one, do a child study. You'll go and discover that most of those children's homes back at home is characterized by GBV. So children learn by imitation. So that becomes normal to them. And then they come to mat it on the other children. So parenting is the core cause. GBV at home is the core cause. And separated families is the lead. Yes.
So how do we embed this issue of parenting in all government's programming? Because I'm meant to understand that there was a guideline that was disseminated, and this guideline seems not to have reached the communities very well, and that's why many people do not know what is in this guideline, and also really how best now with this era, the transition from the traditional systems of doing things now to the modern era that comprises of computers and so on, where you are able to easily surf or get access to anything on the internet that you want to maybe emulate. How do we incorporate the new guidelines to ensure that it is disseminated and also people get used to some of the new changes that are in the parenting in the roles? Yes. Yes,
thank you. In Arua District, we are in the process of dissemination. It has a lot to do with sensitization, which we are doing through the various structures, and we are getting effectively to the grassroots. But then the challenge, for instance, with technology is some of us are outdated, even if we are educated. Technology is a recent thing. Even your own son may be playing about with for instance, pornography. You may think that he's okay. He may switch on certain lines which you are not conversant with. You are illiterate in those areas. And therefore, there is this challenge where we have to address the parents to pay keen interest and then to be available. There is the challenge of economy picking, where the whole day the mother is running up and down, is not at home. The father maybe is in social places also making ends meet. The children are alone, learning from their peer groups. That also goes back to parenting. Yes.
Okay, those are some of the issues that we are really bringing for you here. If you don't know that there are some of the new guidelines that have been brought, you should be now aware that it is very, very important to really go to maybe your parish chief to understand some of the new things that have changed. And remember, there are new amendments also in the law as regards to the issues of gender-based violence. And this is after the COVID-19 surge. And the COVID-19 exposed a lot of issues that in the communities a lot of gaps were identified, and these are to be fixed by these new guidelines that have been issued by Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. But also you talk about many other issues like sexual violence. Specifically, there are clauses that are now saying sex should have been by consensus. Consensus meaning everyone has to agree, and once we say it is enough, it should be enough. If you continue, you'll be implicated. And those are some of the new guidelines that look to be like a joke, but those are serious issues that are already coming there. There are some people who have been accused of doing that by their wives and so on, and this is really something that we all need to really impress ourselves with. These laws are already there, they're already published. You should be able to download the amended versions and see where you lie, or you should be able to also disseminate it to other people. And many other things that are new in the GBV management, and we have now the probation welfare officers, we have those who are in the villages who are there to support you, including the VSTs, including the parasocial workers who can guide you on some of the legal aspects of life. And we have these other laws that are also working in hand with some of these things, and you should be able to be maybe accommodated within the constitution of this country. Now that many things are changing, many things are coming up in, we should take education the best to our learners or our children if we want to really have a better society. But we're winding it up. We're left with just 6 minutes. Maybe Edward, if you can give us your concluding remarks so that we'll be able to give a time for the news in Lubarati that is coming up next at around 9 sharp. Yes.
Okay, thank you. I want to inform my listeners that human resource is very, very vital in development. One aspect of it is education. I begin with children. We normally say tomorrow's future depends on how well we have prepared the young ones. So send your children to school, give proper parental guidance, and if you look at the results, especially in the West Nile sub-region, P7, S4, S6, it is not very encouraging. Look at the tertiary institutions which have been brought to us here to benefit from. We have very few locals in those institutions. We need to style up to take advantage of these institutions. And all behind it is GBV must be eliminated. If we must have development, a prerequisite to proper development in the community is peace and tranquility, which essentially the government has ushered in. But then at the family community level, we have not yet cooperated with the government to ensure that there is peace in our households, there is peace within our clans, there is peace in the larger community. So let's get up, let's wake up and wipe out this dragon, which is called gender-based violence. Let's settle in our marriages and then build our homes, our community, our religious and cultural institutions, and the nation at large. Thank you.
Okay, that is it that we had prepared for you to be shared under this show today. And remember, in this show, we bring you many times the topical issues, but also stories that are making headlines within the region and then across. And if you are still really green about some of the issues that are happening in your society or community, you should be able to tap to this television. And on YouTube, you can still get us live if you don't have a television set, as many people will do. Now that smartphones have made work easier, you should be able to follow us on the Kokoliriko live channel that is published by Westnell TV, and you'll be able to catch up this show very, very well from there. And if you missed the show, you'll be able to get the recorded version on the YouTube channel, and that's where you'll be able to get all the conversation and many other issues that are still happening across the world. You'll be able to notice that a Chinese firm has been already identified as one of the companies that is illegally exporting or moving away with gold from DRC, and that's one story that this company really imposted like a company that is coming to invest in the industry, but decided to start moving away with some of those materials, and many other stories that will be able to catch up within some of these areas. Okay, tomorrow we'll be also coming back. But another interesting story that you can be able to follow is a pastor, a Pentecostal pastor who collapsed and died as he was burning a devil. And this is one interesting story that we said some of these religions, once you are following them, you should be able to know where you belong and what is happening inside. You may never know that some of these pastors are not those real ones. So you should be able to know where you belong when your faith lies. And those are some of the issues that will be really bringing you next days to come. And tomorrow we'll be still having the same show on Westnell Television. We take away from here, but behind the camera is Dijon Pro, who has been really controlling the camera, but also we have Aldo, who is in the production department. Up next we'll be having the news in Lubarati with Fete Manuel. Thank you very much. We'll catch up again tomorrow.